Okay, welcome back to this channel. This is the newest updates on what's happening between Regina Daniels and her husband Ned Nwoko and the family drama happening. Today is the 9th of November 2025. All right, first of all, I would love to read what Senator Ned Nwoko dropped on his Facebook verified page. And Regina, after seeing this, also replied with a hot one. All right, so Ned dropped a video alongside with this text which says, "This video shows Sammy, Regina's brother, repeatedly coming to my house and harassing my children and domestic staffs, especially when I was not around. His visits were often aggressive and disruptive. This is someone I sponsored through his last 2 years at the University of Eboma. I bought his musical instruments, rented and furnished a flat for him in Abuja. In addition to the house I bought for Regina in Asaba before our marriage for the use of all of them. I also routinely provided allowances to all members of the family, including her mother, Regina Daniels. Indeed, in the last 2 years, I have a record of transferring 125 million to her alone. While Regina started her rehabilitation, there was a clear instruction by the doctor to strictly restrict people, especially her enablers, from having access to her. The therapy was arranged after I noticed troubling changes in her behavior linked to her dependence on certain illegal substances, including going for 48 hours without sleep and eating every 2 hours. Unfortunately, Sammy, Destiny, and some of their siblings, together with few of their friends, notably Sonia, Uche, Montana, among others, constantly defied those instructions. They would come into the house uninvited, sometimes forcing their way in, and will bring her the same drugs she has been treated for. Instead of helping her recover, they encouraged her addiction and completely frustrated the effort of doctors and therapists working with her. It is important to note that Lawrence, Sammy, and his girlfriend NK, Destiny, Sonia, and others also took the same drugs as Regina. In fact, Lawrence and Sammy were the ones who first introduced and supplied these drugs to her. They were deeply involved in the habits themselves, and rather than helping her get better, they kept drawing her back into the same destructive lifestyle. I do not drink alcohol nor smoke. In fact, I am a vegetarian, so I found this character and behavior reprehensively and totally unacceptable. Just 4 weeks ago, I woke up around 5 a.m. and realized that Regina was in my room and on the phone. She was clearly high, and she knows that I do not want her in my room in that condition. I asked her to go to her room, and she told me that Sammy's girlfriend was in her room. I was alarmed and angry because that girl should never have been in my house, let alone around Regina, since she is the one of the enablers who constantly bring her the substance she is addicted to. I told Regina that the girl had to leave, and one of my drivers dropped her off. 30 minutes later, Sammy came to my house, shouting and demanding that I come downstairs to face him. He said I had no right to ask his girlfriend to leave my house. He was ranting and threatening, waking up everyone, including the children. I eventually went down and had to instruct the security to physically push him out of my compound. The level of audacity was shocking. Without the influence of drugs, could he have been so bold and disrespectful? They did not stop there. On several occasions, they verbally assaulted and intimidated the police officer stationed at the house for security. The officers were simply following instructions to strictly assess for the sake of Regina's recovery, but Sammy and his group would insult and threaten them. Whenever Regina wanted to go out and I was not around, she would become extremely hostile towards the police and domestic staffs. She would shout, threaten, and use abusive words, insisting that she must leave the house no matter what. There were at least 2 serious incidents where she left home in the evening and did not return until the next day. The first incident, she returned in the morning around 9 a.m. When I asked where she had been all night, she casually said she was at the nightclub. When I questioned why she would stay all out, she ignored my call and ignoring my calls and refusing to answer messages. Her response was, "You are not my father, so don't ask me where I was." I found out that she was with Cassie, and that Cassie was staying in Regina's house in Life Camp. Cassie is the chemist and supplier of the group. I had to go to Life Camp at 6 p.m. to ask her to leave. With her around Regina, the therapy became a joke. On another occasion, on the kids' birthday to be precise, I returned home with the kids because Regina said she would stay with her Nollywood friends for dinner. She didn't return until 5 p.m. the next day. I took so much nonsense just for the sake of the kids. I also knew the drugs had a lot to do with her eats. As for her reason for continuing with drugs, she will always say, just like her mother, that it's a celebrity lifestyle. They will always mention 2 well-known pop stars. Imagine the pain of a husband trying to help his wife recover, only to have the process sabotaged by siblings and friends, the very people who should have been supporting her healing. This pattern of behavior made it almost impossible for her to recover. Each time progress was made, they would undo it by smuggling in the same drugs she is fighting to give up. The entire household lived in tension and fear because of her constant harassment, interference, and disregard for boundaries. It's interesting to note her reasons for the violent behavior in the house the day that Sammy and other siblings came to attack my staff and security, taking Regina away from doing a video which they posted the next day. Why did they do that video? Why did they post it? They simply planned and orchestrated a script all in my presence, regardless of the fact that my kids were there. They took away many things from my house, including one of my phones, money, and other items. Everything that happened that day was in my house, in my absence. Nobody was beaten. Nobody could have contemplated that. It was bluntly forced to say that I sent talks to beat Regina in another house. The video that went viral was filmed entirely in front of my house by Regina's sister and friend. It was pure Nollywood scenario in front of my property in my absence. Sammy should have a life of his own outside of Regina and focus on building a career independently. When his brother Lawrence went to London a couple of years ago to do his master's degree, I personally sponsored him with $75,000 for tuition and upkeep. I sent him abroad partly to help him escape the toxic environment of drug exposure and bad influence around him at the time. Out of fairness, I offered Sammy the same opportunity, but he declined, insisting he wanted to remain in Nigeria to pursue his musical career. Unfortunately, he has since been arrested several times by both the police and EFCC. His behavior has become increasingly violent and unstable. What he needs now is a total rehabilitation and professional guidance. Otherwise, his aggression and self-destruction tendencies will only worsen. So this is what Ned posted. It's a long episode. He also included these video footages just alongside with the whole writing. So after this, the next thing we saw was Regina dropping her own within hours after this. Now let's read what she said. Please, before we continue, just like this video and subscribe to the channel if you've not done that. Let's move on. So Regina said, Ned, how could you lie so openly without even small remorse? You know my family has absolutely nothing to do with this. You have always tried to cut them off because of the bond we share, and now you are trying to make them look bad for no reason. Fine, I did drugs, so what? Is that's even the issue between us? The moment we had a fight, you rushed to the public shouting drugs because you knew it would not make because you knew it would make a perfect story for the media, something dramatic enough to distract everyone from the real issue. You want to find a reason to arrest everyone around me so that I will have no one left beside me, no friends, no support, no safe place to turn to. Then when I am completely isolated and broken, I'll be forced to come back to you because I have nowhere else to go to. Has always been your strategy. Break people down, make them weak and powerless, and then have your way with them. But guess what? It's not going to work this time. Not anymore. You say you want me to go for rehab, but you are the same Ned who always wanted me high because, in your words, I am sexier. When I am high, you liked me that way because it made me wild and romantic, exactly how you wanted me to be. Why don't you also tell them how you forced yourself on me whenever I say no? Why don't you tell them how you locked me up, seized my phone, and suddenly declared me mentally unstable the moment I say the moment I say I no longer want to be in this relationship? But once I change my mind just to get out of that locked room, suddenly I'm fine again. I am no longer mentally unstable and apparently not in need of a rehab anymore. Why don't you also tell them that all your wives and ex-wives are on drugs? And can you be kind enough to explain to them why that is? Why don't you also tell them how you locked me up and doctors to inject me with drugs meant for people with bipolar disorder? Why don't you tell them how you take my phone for weeks just because you hate that I talk to my family a lot? You have never seen me act incoherent, stumble, or lose control. So just stop. Every problem we had started with when I no longer wanted you, whether sober or high. Stop using the drugs narrative to create distraction. Tell people the truth. I understand, Sha. You are feeling rejected and hurt, and you are struggling to make peace with the fact that it's all over. Let me make this very clear. No matter how much you think you spent on me, it can never equal the value of the time I gave you, my prime years, my energy, the career opportunity I sacrificed while being with you. And for the record, I would have filed for divorce long ago, but there was no legal marriage between us. We had never married in any court of law, and no documents were signed. Leave me alone, Ned. Marriage is not by force. Love is not by force. Stop trying to control what no longer belongs to you. Regina Daniels. I have a lot to say, but let me just stop here for now. I can only thank God that I found strength in the same house you tried to destroy me. I just feel so ashamed that all this had come out in a more messier way. So far, this is the response Regina Daniels gave to Ned. Immediately he posted the stuff. Alright, I want you to know that this just happened in less than 24 hours ago, not even up to 12 hours ago. That is being on the 8th of November 2025. That was when this update happened at night. All right, so and we are reporting just this morning being the 9th of October, 9th of November, sorry to say. All right, so you've heard it for yourself. Regina is saying that it's not about the drugs, that's not the main bone of contention, and she's also not denying that she did drugs. Meanwhile, Ned focused on the drugs being the whole reason for her misbehavior. All right, so but we are going to keep in touch. As more updates are coming up, we'll let you know. All right, the matter, it be like say it go long. All right, but please, if you've not subscribed to this channel, please do so, as we bring you updates that are trending and things you should know. All right, bye.